Hey, it's Christopher Cardinal. Hey, and happy race day, everyone. The Brickyard 400 uh, comes up today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should be one extraordinary race, as this is the final race of the 2018 regular season in Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Storylines aplenty. You have the playoff picture, 16 drivers qualify for the playoffs next week in Las Vegas. So 10-week showdown for the championship. This time, Jimmy Johnson and Alex Bowman are 15 and 16 in the standings, and the only way that someone could upset their opportunity to make the playoff is if someone from the top 30 were to win. That is currently not in position in the top 14 if there's a repeat winner. Therefore, it comes down between a battle for 15 and 16 for Bowman and Johnson, but both are likely to qualify for the playoffs. So I'm going to give you my race pick. I think Wave of Momentum. I'm going with this because you can never bet against him. And I know he's had a rough season, and I know he's uncharacteristically hasn't run well lately for most of the time down the stretch. I'm going to go Jimmy Johnson. I think he pulls it off. A little bit of magic carryover from last year, what Kane did to qualify for the playoff in Indianapolis. Johnson channels his 2012 performance he had at Indy, where he just looked flawless, and I think he's going to back that up, and he's going to win the race today at Indianapolis and solidify himself in the standings, move up in the standings for the playoffs as they begin next week. I also just want to let you know that I'm going to be posting the bonus episode, as I alluded to, as tomorrow is the 19th anniversary, September 11th, 1999, of Tony Stewart at the Exide Batteries 400 in Richmond, winning his first career Monster Energy Cup start, then known as the Winston Cup. There's a lot of good news info around. I'll cover also some news information around that time where Ricky Rudd was quite relevant in the news as he was transitioning from getting out of the owner-driver business into taking over the 28 car Yates. Johnny Benson Jr. was also another name that was in the news quite a bit back then, as he was in search of employment for 2000, as he had just previously, a couple weeks prior to Richmond, had been released from his contract with Roush Racing, much Roush trying to win, known as Roush, so we are going back 19 years. Also some other items I'll cover through the race. There's a tight championship battle at the time between Mark Martin and Dale Jarrett, and I'll just gonna recap Tony Stewart and his crowning achievement as he would win his first career race in the Cup Series back on September 11th, 1999. So that's gonna drop tomorrow. You can find the podcast, the super fantastic above average racing spectacular, on Podbean, YouTube. There's a link to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the social media accounts. And please, I would encourage you to listen to this podcast, as I have episode number 3, which will cover the aftermath from Indianapolis and give you a forecast of who I think is going to be impact players in the championship chase, in the playoffs, and who I think will have an early exit. It might surprise you, some names I think will have an early exit. And I'll just give you an idea of who I think is going to move on to the second round of the playoffs after the 3 events take place at Vegas, Richmond, and the Roval at Charlotte. It's pretty interesting that there's the first time in the playoffs history there's a road course race on the 10-race schedule. So I think that should be an exciting 3 weeks of racing coming up. You don't want to miss it, and I will be covering that on the super fantastic above average racing spectacular. Until then, I'll catch you later.